Anyway, introductions first. Beth, I'm not too sure that you've met Randy before, but Randy Eisenberg. Say hello, Randy.
How's it going, Beth? Nice
Wasn't
to
that you last time, Randy?
That was
No?
me last time.
Yeah, okay.
Talked a little bit.
Yeah.
Since then,
And
I
then,
looked you up.
yeah, and then of course, Beth, you know Jay, and Jay, you know Beth, and there's also Sean Yakovone. Sean, wave your hand, buddy. Say hello, smile. Yeah,
Aloha,
hey,
Beth.
Sean. And basically, for Beth and Jay, this is the second time that we, as a group, and the name of our group is Mana'o Ukulele, done this kind of thing. Our product and our mission is education. And the way we do that is to gather up people who have various who are experts in various disciplines relevant to ukulele. Myself and Zanuck Lindsay basically take care of issues that have to do with playing and teaching people to play. Sean is an expert in vintage ukuleles and historical ukuleles. Sean is also an expert in gathering and sharing custom ukuleles, which he does out of his shop here in Hawaii. And then Zanuck, who isn't on, is the second person who helps me with playing and teaching. Zanuck, at least in my estimation, is the very best ukulele teacher I've ever worked with, and Zanuck is one of those very few people who is an outstanding musician and at the same time a wonderful and just as outstanding teacher. Randy, and another person who probably won't make it today, Grant Keeler, are basically what we call our consumer advocates. And that is generally the people we have that I've already mentioned have so much time and energy and experiences that they've had in ukulele that every now and then I sometimes forget what it's like to be a beginner, and have just all kinds of things going on at the same time, and being a beginner looking for direction. So we've assigned, and Randy has accepted the responsibility for being a consumer advocate, and he makes sure that we never ever forget what it's like to be a beginner and looking for direction. So what we do is just offer education, and what we're doing today is, with this Zoom meeting, is to interview Beth Taylor, who recently purchased an ukulele from Jay Lichty. So let me start, and we'll go around the horn, asking you guys some questions. First of all, with regard to Beth. Beth, how did you come to know Jay, and what is it that made you order an ukulele from Jay?
Well, the first ukulele I played was a custom ukulele, and I couldn't play anything at that point, but I knew what it felt like, and it was a really, really good one. And then I started asking people a lot of questions, and for a year I thrashed around, and I talked to you, and you said, find somebody to help you. And I didn't do that, of course, but I started looking online. YouTube is really our friend. And I found you online, and I found other people online, and I sort of got this giant whiteboard, and I put it on my wall, and I started writing down things that I was interested in. But not believing my own senses, I got, a bunch of ukuleles in the $200 range. Then I moved up to solid ones. Then I moved up a few more steps, but then I watched online as a friend of mine, Stu, I know this is a little long, but it's important for those consumer advocate people.
There you go. Keep going. You're doing great.
Stu Fuchs was out with a custom builder in Washington, and I was watching online as they're picking out wood, and the wood is singing. And I'm going, wood does that. We're big woodworkers at our house. And so I had to have one of those. And so now I have 3 of those. I had this short list of custom builders, and it turns out that they're all people that you, Kimo, have worked with. So that gave me access to a whole world of video, from you playing everyone's instruments and talking about them. And that way I was able to develop some understanding of what I wanted and what I wanted to feel. And then I got the idea that I wanted to play GCEA on a bigger instrument, because I bought these 2 baritones and then I couldn't play them because I'm playing with a group where I can't play those notes. I don't know anything. I mean, I know I can read music. Am I sounding really ignorant? Mm-hmm. Anyway, everything on my list as I moved up to realizing I wanted to play this GCEA on a bigger body, I wanted a bigger vibe. And that's when I talked to you, and you said, well, you should talk to Jay. And I remembered that Jay had all the things on my list that I wanted to do. But at the time, I thought, what am I even thinking about buying an instrument like that? I can't play well enough. Well, I can play a lot better now.
Good.
Now that I have it.
Good. The reason why, Beth, that's just wonderful, wonderful feedback, is a lot of ukulele people don't know very much about the instrument. They do know that they enjoy playing the instrument, which is wonderful. And as many people who don't know very much about ukuleles and basically how they are built, there are even fewer people who know about instruments of very, very high quality. And so that's the reason why your feedback is extremely important. So Beth, tell us, I tell you what, Beth, do you have your Ziggy with you?
It's right here.
Can you grab it and just show it to us?
I keep having these arguments with myself about taking it with me places, because it doesn't have too many dings yet. This is it.
Who generally wins the arguments?
It's half and half. I go to class once a week, and there's like 30 people there, and I get, all wound up, and then I'm not taking as good a care of it. But then I don't want to play anything else because I can't play as well anything else. So this is it.
Hey, you know what? We'll take care of that. Okay, can you just hold up the front, the top, so we can see it? And Jay, as we do that, Jay, could you describe the ukulele for us?
Can I get back a little bit? There we go.
That's perfect.
So that's a baritone, a little bit oversized baritone, just slightly, with the side. Obviously the sound hole is not in the center like you normally would see. It's up on the top upper bout, and there's also a side sound port. If you tilt it best so they can see, there's also a hole there where some sound can come out, and it's right in the player's peripheral audio palette, which is kind of nice.
Yes, it is.
I love that about side ports.
And it's the size is different. The depth is different from anything I've played.
Beth, is that the first uke you've ever had that has a side port?
No. All of my Griffins all have a side port. It was one of the things on my list.
That you like.
Yeah,
okay.
I knew I wanted.
Keep going and describe the uke, brother.
So I'm being a little bit. I'm cheating just a little bit because I can't recall what the back and sides were made out of. Was that Brazilian or
Brazilian?
Brazilian rosewood, yes. So Beth, the type of person I love to get a phone call from. It's a very special ukulele. As you can see, it fits your chin perfectly. We designed it so that
okay, great.
It's got a sinker redwood top and Brazilian rosewood back and sides, and a mahogany neck. And she wanted it tuned, like she mentioned earlier, like a standard tenor ukulele or a standard concert ukulele would be tuned. G, C, EA, is that what it is? I'm a baritone guy, so sometimes I have to rethink.
That's because you're a guitar guy.
Yeah, I come from guitar, so I have to think backwards.
Good.
And I'm modeled that a name. It's named, first of all, the most important thing. It's named after my shop dog, Ziggy.
Yay. Okay.
Which gives it an extra bit of charm.
Beth, one of the things you mentioned was looking for an ukulele that was a little bit bigger size, and
bigger feeling.
How did that turn out for you with this ukulele?
Perfect, absolutely perfect. The other baritones I have, I don't know if I'll ever play a tenor again. It's just you know, energetically, if people are paying attention, they will know that an instrument vibrates with their body and in their body, and either it fits, and sometimes it doesn't have to fit to be you can play it, but it doesn't feel the same. And the other two, the jury's out. I like the other one I have is a rosewood and redwood also, but this size, this feeling, this vibration, it's like it's in tune with me. And you know, you might play it, it wouldn't be in tune with you. It would sound beautiful, but it's like the right vibration. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, the wonderful thing about what you just mentioned, Beth, is that I think one of the very best things about ukulele is that there are no standard methodologies in anything that has to do with ukulele. You know, there's nothing that says this is how you should play the instrument, this is how you should build the instrument. And because of that, I think it's so wonderful when people like you are looking for something specific with regard to the ukulele, and you actually find it. Before you go on, Beth, I'd like for you to meet Zanuck Lindsay. Zanuck, wave your hand, buddy. Say hello. And Zanuck, you already know Jay. So, Beth.
Hey,
Beth,
Jay.
I couldn't
Aloha,
find
brother.
videos.
Aloha.
Beth, tell us what you think about the sound of your ukulele.
Well, we're still don't know each other that well. And I find myself stopped in my tracks more often by the feeling of the sound that's coming in and the feeling that I have, that it's not exactly just hearing, it's feeling. And all instruments don't do that. So.
Got it. Okay, I have one more question for the builder, and then we'll move on to Sean. Jay, this is a question that has to do with the sound holes. You know, in Hawaiian, there's a word that's called puka. It's spelled P-U-K-A, and what that means in Hawaiian is a hole. So what I want to do is talk to you a little bit about what your feedback is on what I will call puka technology, and that has to do with the sound holes. You know, the ukulele world is quite accustomed to seeing a sound hole that's on the top and round, and you chose to put the sound holes someplace different. So, can you tell us a little bit about what your thinking is with regard to sound holes and their placement?
Well, yes, I will. On the normal place for the sound holes, most people know where that is, right below where the neck, the end of the fretboard is. That's some pretty valuable real estate when you think about the top of a small instrument like an ukulele, which you want as much vibration to get the most sound. The more areas you have doing the vibrating and that you can work with, the more sound you can manipulate. And I actually read an article in the Hawaiian Guild magazine that Steve Grimes wrote about sound hole placement, which inspired my placement on this, where he built some instruments with the sound hole, not like I've done, but up in that area. It's actually a round sound hole that's just kind of slid up from the normal position up to that upper bout. And I liked what he was saying, and I've been thinking about it myself anyway, where it just gives the builder more room to play with the actual construction to get the vibration that we're after. It puts the sound hole just out of the way of the structural component of the instrument.
Yeah.
So that's why I placed it there. And of course, as you know, I'm a big proponent of the side sound port, and that's a lot through my working with you, Chemo, because the first instruments I started doing that was when you and I started working together, and we started talking about sound hole placement, size, and shape, and you were paramount in my, what I came up with was, based on you and me experimenting, really, and now I won't build an instrument of a ukulele size without one of those sound holes, sound ports. In fact, some people charge extra for putting those in. I charge extra if I don't put one in.
Hey, good for you. Okay, you know what? Because we're not too sure when Sean is going to have to leave us. Let's turn the microphone on the floor over to Sean. Go ahead, buddy.
Well, this is really exciting, and I've seen some of Jay's work over the years, and just some stellar, beautiful work. But I've always had some questions because I feel like some of the designs, Jay, that you have really, for me, crosses over into art. I love, especially the Ziggy model in particular. It is so elegant, and the lines and the body shape and the design are really flowing, for me. And when I look at custom instruments of this caliber, it really stands out, because to me, I feel as though I can see not only the thought process behind the build and execution on that, but also the builder themselves are in that instrument, right? Like your personality and who you are shows up in that instrument. And I wanted to ask you, when you're working on these new design, that Ziggy, for example, that is relatively a newer design, right? Or
Yeah.
did you have that in the guitar size and work from there with that porting style and so forth? It's entirely new.
I had the Ziggy. If you look at it closely, it's got a normal cutaway where you normally would have one for your hand, and then it's got one in the upper bout on the other side of the neck as well. And I did have a model of guitar that I was doing that with, and it lent itself well when I was designing the Ziggy and wanting to have that side sound port, or the sound hole, the top sound hole in that location. So I did steal from my own design in that aspect. And as a builder, in order to make a living in this craft, you've got to do something different than everybody else and hope that people like it. And so that would just happen to be a design that I came up with in my guitar building that really went over well because no one else was doing it. So I got a lot of orders for those, and it translated well to the ukulele.
And that scale length, Jay, is a little longer than your typical tenor scale, but slightly shorter than a traditional baritone. Is that correct, or is it a true baritone scale?
I believe I did a 19. I did a 19-inch scale on Best ukulele. I've done them also with a 20-inch scale for people that want to tune them like a baritone ukulele. A standard tenor ukulele scale is 17 inches. So it's 2 inches longer than a standard ukulele scale.
And Beth, do you tune that to a B flat tuning as well?
It's GCEA mostly.
It's
I play with the
GCEA
group.
tuning.
Yeah, and I need to be able to play with the group. So
Yes.
with that longer neck, I hear people saying it's so hard, and I'm thinking I don't see the hard part here. It's really nice.
Yeah,
Good for
it is
you.
beautiful, I think, in the GCEA tuning.
Yeah.
And as you get more familiar with that instrument, Chemo has been challenging me on this, but I am sold on that B flat tuning.
Yeah, I did try it. I did like it, but I
Yeah.
tried it on my other two baritones, and they liked it. But
Yeah.
this particular Ziggy sounds just really singing it. GCEA. Maybe it's what I want to hear. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very important when you say that's what I want to hear, because the bottom line with regard to how we choose ukulele and what we like is basically what we like. And if you enjoy GCEA tuning, that's just wonderful. The two big categories that I generally use with regard to sound on ukuleles is high and bright, which is most noticeable, for example, on a concert ukulele tuned high G. and on the opposite side is low and mellow, which I like, and anything in between that the player favors. Sorry, Sean, go ahead, buddy.
No, I was curious about the design, but also I wanted to hear a little from Beth, because I know that for myself, walking into my shop, sometimes I take it for granted, and I certainly have had a number of pieces of Jay's pass through over the years, and they're walking into a place that, whether it's one instrument, 3 instruments, or 10 instruments, when they're quality instruments, they kind of call to you. And I wanted to know how that engagement works out for you, Beth, because, I'm not sure if you keep your ukuleles out like that typically, or if you have them on the wall, or if you have them in a case. But
I have them out because I play a lot. I mean, I play through the day. I play a lot, so they're out.
So they do kind of call to you across the room, so to speak.
Well, actually, there would only be one out here, but right now I'm messing around. Each of these instruments has different strings on it.
Mm-hmm.
Because the ones that Jay suggested on the Ziggy are so smooth and so perfect for that instrument. So I thought I'd give these other strings, which are the new, I found some strings that were designed for this purpose,
Mm-hmm.
for a baritone GCEA.
Mm-hmm.
And they're okay, but they're not. These strings that Jay chose are terrific. So the next thing would be to put those strings on those ukuleles, and then after that, I'll put the other 2 away.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's an experiment. I can't help
There's
it.
a lot of string options as part of the fun too. You mentioned that you started with some custom ukuleles when you first started playing.
No, that took me about a year.
Oh,
because
okay.
I was sort of on my own, and I'm kind of an introvert, which you might not pick up. And I get in a store, and I don't think the people knew anything, and they didn't have much of a selection. So I just ordered stuff and tried it.
I see. Can you share with us the first time, whether you played Jay's uke here or your custom ukes, in contrast to some of those earlier ones that you were playing as you were kind of finding your way through this process, what were some of the things that you immediately noticed in the difference in terms of quality of sound or feel, or weight distribution? What were some things that stood out for you in particular? Can you share with us a little on that?
I can try. I read a lot of stuff about how you have to get to know your instrument, and it's gonna break in, and the sound's gonna open up. Well, clearly the plywood ones weren't gonna do that. They had solid fronts, they weren't bad, but I just can't get excited about plywood. And then I ordered like 3 solid ones, and they were cordless, they were okay. But I didn't get that feeling that I was hoping for. The sound was nice, it was pleasant, it was there, but the depth, that's it. The depth was not there of sound.
So I think you mentioned earlier that you feel your music now. You have an emotional connection with your music. It sounds
I do that. Yeah, and it's that's the feeling you would want with any experience, that you want that depth of whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want it to be superficial. I want it to engage deeply. And so it finally occurred to me that I didn't really have to get better. I took James Kill's course online, and he's really good at communicating a lot of stuff, but still, he was at the other end of the universe. And so when I saw this one online, the build going on. So here's you choosing the wood and choosing and choosing the vibration of the specific piece of wood you wanted. So when I got that one, that was a tenor, and I've had that for 2 years, and I like it a lot. But the depth is, you can feel the difference, but you have to pay attention. And I think that's something that we should teach people.
Yeah, good for you.
How to pay attention.
Good for
What's
you.
the feeling? Because if you get the feeling from your gut, from your ears and your gut, then you could go with total ignorance. You could go through your showroom, Sean, which I've seen online. I mean, it's, and pick the one that speaks to you.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a musician.
Absolutely.
I don't think.
There's this one, I traveled with Kimo this one occasion. We did some workshops and so forth. And he did this exercise. There was a group of people sitting in a circle, and he challenged everyone to explore each other's instruments. And he said, hey, pass
Good
your
idea.
instruments around. And I had never, occurred to me that to do this, but I thought it was such an interesting perspective on an interesting way to learn about construction and weight and sound through practical application, on something like that. And I don't know,
Yeah.
it just kind of reminded me a bit.
And just the difference in, it would be really nice to do that with some really higher end instruments.
Yeah.
Because the difference between, I don't know what you would call them, $300 instruments or even $600 instruments, they're all in this, they're all made in a factory, and they all are standardized to be standard, right? And but even there are differences that you can begin to learn what the feeling that you like is.
Right. Sean, I wonder if we can move on, and we'll get back to you a bit later if you're still here and we have the time. Thank you, buddy. Let's go to Randy. Randy, do you have a Lichty uke, or have you played one before?
I do have the steel string one that we were talking about, Jay. I'm forgetting what the name of it is right now, but the steel string baritone.
Really?
Maybe I should go grab it. Should I go grab it?
Well, yeah. You know what, Randy, the floor is yours, buddy. Go ahead.
All right. Well, I'll
Yes.
grab it. I will grab it, and I'll ask the first question that I have for Beth, and it's, what are the strings that are on yours that Jay recommended? I think I want to try them.
Where's my-
Randy's is a whole different
Yeah.
different animal than Beth's. His is a carved back and top arch top ukulele. It was specifically designed for steel strings. That doesn't mean he couldn't try nylon strings on it, but the electric pickup that's on it is a magnetic pickup, so it wouldn't pick up nylon strings.
Yeah.
But I do have a recommendation for strings that will work that are nylon.
Yeah, I was thinking about, I do have a 19
Oh, cool.
super tenor. I was thinking about trying the strings that you're recommending for Beth. That would work probably. But
Okay.
this beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Flip it horizontally.
This is probably
I
thinner
was-
than yours, huh?
Yeah.
This
It's
thinner.
got one of those floating bridges, Jay.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
It's great to plug in
Right.
and have some fun. Okay, so let's see. Jay, I got a question. How many hours on average does it take for you to make a beautiful instrument like one of these?
That's such a loaded question. It's a builder's least favorite question. So
Okay, well,
I have to ask this. I have to ask this. Do the hours that I spend in the middle of the night thinking about them count? The designing and the
that's-
creation.
Yep, they count.
Absolutely, they count.
Yeah. So as far as actual practical, hands-on manipulating wood and working, there can be anywhere, depending on the model of ukulele, anywhere from 30 to 100 hours. The 100 is way out there. I'm a lot faster than that, but and your particular instrument at the back and top are carved out of 5/8 thick wood, literally carved out by hand, and that takes a lot of time. Both the top and the bottom of each top and back plate are carved out, so there's a lot more labor in that ukulele than a standard. There's a couple days extra just in that.
A lot of work goes
Did I
into
have-
a beautiful instrument.
Did I evade the question?
Can you-
Well,
I want to see the horizontal view again.
You want to see
Please.
this?
Yeah. Can you get? Cool. Wow.
You got to get one of these, Beth.
Yeah.
I remember, Jay, you brought one of those to the Guild function a few years back, right?
I did, and I have to say, and Randy may have already obviously probably figured it. They're not. The steel string model like that is not most typical ukulele players pick that up and not know what the heck to do with it. I mean, it's a different animal completely, and the way that you perceive it through your ears and the way that you have to play it in order to get the tone you want. And it depends on what type of music. It's not an instrument that you do a lot of strumming and singing with. It's more for playing individual notes and playing like a little guitar, like a little jazz guitar. Really, it's its forte.
Yeah, it's a great
Beautiful.
instrument. What about the finish that you use on your instruments? Do you do the same finish for all of them, or do you do different finishes, and then why?
The overall finish is the same. Yours has a stain. You know, as you can see, I've sunbursted to make the color happen. But I use a water-based lacquer for all of my instruments. I tried out early on going with the more chemical nitrocellulose lacquers, which make a great looking instrument, but they're so toxic for the person applying them and to the environment that I just had to switch for health reasons. And I really like I like the finish I'm using now because it's shiny, but it's not that shiny like that looks cheap. It looks I like how it's kind of a dull shiny, and I like how that
It's not an unnatural looking shine.
exactly, and it makes it's really very lightly put on there. I mean, it's a lot of effort to make it look like that, but it really the instrument is allows the instrument to breathe and to vibrate well.
Well, great, thanks for answering that. I got maybe one or two more questions for Beth, and then I'll hand it over to you, Kimo.
Okay.
So Beth, I'm wondering, like, what was the process of you choosing that particular baritone from Jay and the woods that you chose?
Well, I told Jay what I wanted to do, but also I hadn't realized when I started watching Kimo talking to all these builders, I knew nothing at all. And when I went back and looked at them again, that's what they were doing. They were trying to build something cooperatively, that met that kind of need. And I didn't understand what Kimo was trying to do with this baritone thing. And anyway, so he suggested I talk to Jay about it because everyone I talked to said, you can't do that. And I really don't like to hear that. And so I asked Jay, and that was Jay's suggestion. He gave me a couple of suggestions, but the Ziggy was the one that really stood out. And I really can't remember why. Was it because you told me it was the best one for that, Jay?
I honestly don't know. It's interesting when I'm working with customers. It's almost like there's a spiritual element to it. I don't want to sound real flaky here, but there's definitely there's definitely a spiritual. There's a connection that's made. I think in any parts of life, we make connections way before we actually talk to somebody. There's some sort of connection that happens on a higher plane. And with instrument building, the thing I've noticed is it goes to something one of you have said earlier about how you can walk. You have a group of instruments, and you walk in, and you can kind of see you. I know when I walk into a music shop or where there's any instruments, there's an instrument that will speak to me pretty straight away, and I've seen that happen time and time again, where someone will walk in, and I can watch their eyes, and I'll see them look at a particular instrument, and they'll go through all these others, and they'll come back to that instrument. It'll be the one that they choose, and there's something, I don't know if it's a visual or it's a spiritual thing. So, in answer to your question, it's you'll tell me, you'll give me information, and I'm a real intuitive kind of. I work from an intuitive state as opposed to scopes and graphs and numbers. I'm not a numbers and scope and measurement kind of person, although I obviously measure things. I work on a more intuitive basis where I don't know how. It's hard to answer intuitive questions, right? You ask me questions. Yeah, you ask me questions, and I just, it leads me to tell you things. I don't know. There's no scientific thing to that, so it's hard to explain.
I think one of the important. I'm sorry. I think one of the important things about what you're talking about, Jay, and this is something that has been very, very positive for me, is just the process of collaboration. the thing that I enjoyed probably most of all by collaborating with ukulele builders is to learn more about the ukulele itself. So that was a great response. Go ahead, Randy. You can finish up, buddy.
Wood, you want to know about wood? Was that the other question? Are you shaking your head yes?
I was on mute there for a second. I didn't
Oh,
realize.
okay.
So the wood you chose were to get the tone that you were looking for?
Pretty much. Yeah, I knew that I wanted. I have two that are redwood and rosewood, and I really like it. And Jay was saying there were. I think I was looking at a couple other things, but Jay was saying, well, then you're getting into so mellow and it'd be mushy, and I still wanted some pretty good definition, and and I really like what I had, so that's why I chose that. But then I went looking for pairs of pieces of wood, and there weren't any, but Jay found some.
Hey, way to go, Jay. Okay, let's go to Zanuck. But before we go to Zanuck, I wanna tell all of you, first of all, that with regard to playing and teaching people to play ukulele, Mana'o is supported by primarily Zanuck and myself. But what I want to mention to you all is that in terms of playing and teaching people to play, the emphasis that Zanuck and I put on that is not necessarily performance. What we try to do is to work with people and help them play in a way that is really, really fun for them. One of the wonderful things about ukulele is that it gives the ukulele population, uke folk, opportunity to get into the process of making music without thinking that, you have to go through a whole bunch of academics and, you have to do a whole lot of drills and you absolutely have to practice to be the world's best ukulele player. That's not what we're about. And the other thing I wanted to tell you about Zanuck and Jay is that one of the most fun trips I've ever had was meeting Zanuck back in North Carolina at Jay's house, where we just visited and had opportunity to do a concert there. And that concert was one of the most fun concerts I've ever participated in. What we did was put 3 chairs on the stage, and then we had about 6 or 7 of Jay's instruments, including a guitar or 2. And all we did was take turns. We'd play a solo, or 2 of us would play, 3 of us would play, and we kept changing out the instruments, and it was really, really fun. And so with that, we want to turn the floor and the microphone now over to you, Zanuck, to ask whatever questions you have.
I don't. I was just enjoying auditing this whole session. So it's a pleasure to meet you, Beth. We've never spoken.
We have not.
Nice to meet you here, and great to see you again, Jay. I recognize that living room. And I love that archtop guitar you got on display behind you. That's special. I still use Jay's Kiku that he created. That's my go-to gigging instrument over here for Hawaiian weddings and things like that. It's the perfect portable hybrid that I can do a lot of crossover thinking when I'm playing ukulele and guitar on this one single instrument. So that's a great instrument. I hope that it catches on one day.
Tell us what a Kiku is, buddy.
Kiku's in a case up in front by the front door. I don't want to leave and get it, but all of you probably know what it is. It's always mistaken as a a little tiny guitar, and I never think of it that way. Conceptually and in my playing, I look at it as an ukulele with lower strings, so maybe that's semantics to some, but I look at it that way because I have to see the tuning is in GCEA tuning. So I'm I'm looking at ukulele voicings. I'm not looking at baritone ukulele or guitar voicings. I'm looking at that. And then if I want to drop in a lower bass note or even alter the bass note to play different things, it's a great thing. So thank you, Jay. It was, it's been a great experience. How many years have I had that, Kimo? I don't know. It's been.
I don't know. I'm not sure I can count that high, buddy.
Yeah, it's been great. So, and I don't see anybody else using it. So I'm not sure what that means. If there's some kind of bias about the way you think about that instrument being a tiny guitar, so ukulele players shy away from it. I'm not
It's
sure.
a great idea.
Yeah, it is.
When I learn enough music, then I can advance 2 more strings.
Zanuck, I think the problem with that Kiko has been you and I. What we got to do is just stop being lazy and get out there and play more.
Oh yeah, I will. Well, I don't have much to add. I dropped in late, and I just wanted to say that I'm really happy to be part of this this new project, and whatever I can contribute in my area, I'm more than willing to do so. And if there are any questions regarding education, things like that, just fire away. I'm available through Randy and Kimo and our friend who's not here today. Where's Grant? I'm not sure, but anyway, this is a great group of guys who are working for a really great cause of bringing attention to some of the subtleties of ukulele that I don't see enough of out there in videos or even these live streaming events that are going on about ukulele. And you have all the best people, to give that information. But that's it, Kimo. That's it for me today.
Great. Thank you. I want to tell you all that the thing about instruction that Zanuck offers through Mana'o is having a real understanding based on interfacing with the student and talking about what it is that the student enjoys about ukulele. Zanuck has genius in figuring out what it is he needs to put together, whether it be from a practice technique, some information from music theory, if necessary, although we never use that word. And Zanuck has his genius in putting that together. All together in a way that turns out to be really, really fun for the student. And I just wanted to mention that because that's a good thing. Okay, we've been around one time around Mana'o. Let's now give the floor and attention to Beth. And tell us, Beth, anything you would like to share that you may think other people who will eventually see this video that you would like to share with them about your ukulele.
About my particular ukulele?
Yeah, or anything about you that you think is wonderful, because remember, our mission is education.
What I hear a lot when I was going to festivals online, looking at teachers, people who are doing their little, I don't mean they're not little, they're great, lesson things. And almost everybody says, what a fun instrument this is. It's just happy. It's just a happy thing. Everybody can be happy. And I don't often hear people saying, yeah, okay, but this is also a serious instrument. You're learning to play. This is a serious, a big event in your life. This is important. And it's not just fooling around. Well, if all you do is fool around, it'll still be important, but you may never know.
That's right.
That's about it.
Good. Thank you. Jay, I have a question for you. Earlier, Sean talked about art as it exists in design of ukuleles. And for a little bit, Jay, you mentioned you mentioned a bit about spirituality in the ukulele. In your mind, Jay, what makes your instruments sound beautiful, as opposed to just having like a good sound, like, oh, this instrument has good sustain, or the intonation is really good. Those are very, very objective things. In your mind, based on what you build, what is it about your instruments that make them sound beautiful? Because they do sound beautiful.
Wow. Well, thank you for that. That's very humbling. Um, I think that what you put into something makes a difference, and your attitude and who, I think personality, uh, and who you build the instrument for. People may not realize it, but best experience of interacting in the process of building instrument made that instrument part of her. I mean, we're co-creating something, and I don't want to. It's hard for me to look at a musical instrument and not see it as a living entity. I mean, obviously the wood was alive at one time, and I know as human beings we have our own definitions of what is alive and what's dead, and I think that sometimes those are big obstacles, because I think there's a lot of life in things that we assume are dead, a rock or a stump laying on the ground. So for me, it's really about who I am. That's all I try and put myself into each instrument. I think most builders do. I think most custom builders, they develop their own sound, and it's based on not only how they build it, but what they're thinking, how they're thinking, and who they are as a human being. And we all connect in our lives through these channels, and we're attracted to each other through something higher than ourselves, and all that comes into play. It's all one big formula that works out, and I'm just really happy that people like the sound of my instruments, and they're not for everyone. There's other builders that connect, that people. I don't build for everybody that I talk to. I mean, there's other builders that they connect with on that same level, and that's what makes this so great. It's just like teachers. There's people that you can teach people, and Zanuck can teach people, and then there's other teachers that actually connect better, not because of that you're not as good, or Zanuck is not as good, but it's just how they connect and how they communicate. So that's a long answer.
No, and I think that's a great and appropriate answer. I like what you say about promoting life through the ukulele, because some of the Hawaiian people, older Hawaiian people, and I'm sure in other cultures as well, when there is a birth, they take the afterbirth and use that to plant, let's say, a tree, and the whole idea is to promote and prolong life. Well, fast forward a couple years after the tree has lived, and some of them die, and I think it's just wonderful that that one of the things that ukulele builders do is harvest wood from this dead tree in order to make an instrument, and through that instrument bring life back and promote life again. I think that's just wonderful.
Yeah.
Speaking of life and ukuleles, I want to tell you all that one of the things I really like about our session, and I hope that all of us promote this kind of thing, is just talking about things that we've talked about, despite the fact that there's more that we haven't talked about, but time is always a limitation. But the thing I like about that is by doing this and spreading this out amongst uke folk, it leads them to make better decisions about the ukes that they choose to play, how they choose to play the use, and for us to be able to combine that with the various expertises. That's not a very good word, but to be able to combine that with all of the expertises that Manao ukulele brings together is just great. Sean, you stayed with us the whole time. Was there anything else that you wanted to add, buddy?
Oh no, I just wanted to say it was just wonderful meeting with you, Beth and Jay. It's always great seeing with you. Once these things, you know, things get a little bit better with this pandemic situation, it'd be nice to see some of these people in, you know, face to face. But it's great that we can connect via Zoom. We're excited to hear back from you, Beth. We'd love to have you back at some point to hear how that instrument has opened up and changed, and how you've begun to engage with that a little bit more. You know, over time as well. And so thank you so much for your time, and certainly for Jay as well.
Great.
It's been a great session.
Zanik, you have a parting question, buddy?
No, I do not. I hope that one day, like Sean says, we can all see each other in person and have a little jam session and you know, enjoy each other's company and music.
That day will come. Randy, anything else?
Yeah, we got to do that, Zanik.
Yeah.
No, just I appreciate everybody's time, and I thought this was a great experience, a great little session we had.
Okay, great. I thought so too. Jay, how about you? A parting shot from you, buddy.
Hey, thanks for making me feel so great, you guys. I won't be able to fit my head out through the door now, so I'm gonna have to remodel my house again. It's great seeing you guys. Sean, I will email you the string stuff you asked about.
Thanks so much.
Yeah. Great to see you guys and girls.
I want to tell you all that one of the things that initially attracted me to Jay's work is I was at a workshop in Canada, and one of the guys there had an ukulele that Jay made. And so I played it, liked it, asked him who made it. And, you know, he said it was this guy named Jay Lichty. And I said, where does he live? And he said, North Carolina. And that was one of the immediate things that drew my attention to Jay, because here was a very, very high quality uke that I was playing. And I was thinking that, you know, Tryon, North Carolina is not necessarily the nexus for all things ukulele. And so that's how I got to know Jay, and I think it's extremely unique. That somebody who lives in North Carolina on his own has developed a reputation that acknowledges him to be among the world's very best builders. Okay, Beth, what's your parting docket? Tell us something that's real important for us to know.
I think you guys covered it pretty good. I do.
Good.
Thanks. It was fun. It was fun.
It was, and just like was mentioned previously, we'd love down the road for you to come back and just interface with us and tell us not only how your Ziggy is doing, but how, since when you bought the Ziggy, you now have 2 more ukuleles. that you can also tell us about.
Well, I sold almost everything else. Now I just this other layer is probably going to go, but maybe I'll get another Lichty.
Good.
But no, this
Okay.
one is I everything Jay said. I agree with him completely about the whole thing, and I think that I guess the connection. I don't know a lot of other builders, but the builders that I do know and the woodworkers that I know are intimately connected with their materials and the world around them. And I think it makes a huge difference, that connection. And
Right.
the missing a word, but that connection is really important. It makes a difference.
Okay, then thanks so much for everybody, and all the way from beautiful Kauai. Aloha.
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 Take care.
All right.